welcome. Today, we're taking a close look at the rapidly deteriorating security situation in the Middle East and its strategic implications. Good morning. This is your Stylo News Intelligence Update for Friday, March 6th, 2026. And today's briefing is brought to you by ProWave AI. They're the developers of the Stylo Intelligence Platform, which is the technology that powers all of our global news analysis. Our focus this morning is on the major strategic implications of the war escalating in the Middle East, a conflict that has intensified really dramatically just over the past week. We're going to begin with the most urgent development, and that is a direct threat to a global choke point, the Strait of Hormuz. So, as you know, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most critical maritime corridors. You can think of it as a vital artery for the entire global energy supply, connecting producers in the Persian Gulf with markets all over the world. On March 4th, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they issued a very direct statement. They declared, quote, full control over the Strait of Hormuz and threatened to, quote, attack any vessel attempting passage. The immediate impact of a declaration like that, it really cannot be overstated. We're talking about approximately 20% of the world's total oil shipments passing through this one strait. And now, that entire supply is under direct threat. So to understand how this crisis reached this flashpoint, we need to trace the path of escalation, and that really began just last week. The escalation was incredibly rapid and severe. It all began on February 28th when the United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury, a coordinated campaign against Iran. On that very same day, an airstrike killed Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. By March 1st, Tehran had vowed severe retaliation. Then, just 2 days later, on March 3rd, airstrikes hit the Assembly of Experts in Qom. This is the very body responsible for choosing the next supreme leader, which effectively paralyzed Iran's leadership succession process. As you might expect, these initial strikes triggered an immediate chain reaction of military retaliation and widespread unrest that quickly rippled across the region. The responses from all sides were swift and came from multiple directions. Iran's IRGC launched a barrage of missile strikes on Israeli territory and on 27 U.S. bases. Now, the UAE did intercept many of those missiles and drones, but it also asserted its right to respond. For its part, the U.S. retaliated by sinking an Iranian warship and also confirmed casualties from a drone strike in Kuwait, while Israel targeted 7 different command centers in Tehran. This military conflict quickly spilled over into civil unrest around the globe. In Pakistan, violent protests led to 22 deaths and authorities imposed curfews. In Nigeria, peaceful demonstrations by Shiite communities prompted security alerts for U.S. citizens. And even in the United States, major cities saw demonstrations against the military campaign, which were then echoed by anti-U.S. protests in Baghdad. Of course, a regional conflict of this magnitude has sent immediate diplomatic and economic shockwaves all around the world. And the international response? Well, it's been sharply divided. The United States has justified the strikes as necessary, with President Trump advocating for regime change or reform, but some friction has appeared, for instance, with allies like Spain denying the use of its air bases for these operations. On the other side, Russia and China have condemned the strikes, calling them a violation of international law. They're warning against any further escalation and are calling for restraint. The economic consequences are already starting to show. With that global oil supply disrupted, market volatility is on the rise, especially in Asia, and a spike in energy prices is expected. To try and counter this, the U.S. has begun underwriting risk insurance for commercial vessels, even as the United Nations expresses grave concern over the larger threat to international trade. This entire situation is complex, and it's fast-moving. It raises critical questions about regional stability and, of course, about what comes next. The situation remains highly volatile, with the potential for even further escalation to impact global security and economies. So what you've just heard is a high-level summary of these unfolding events. For a deeper dive, our full analysis, Middle East at War, is available right now. You can find that podcast on your preferred platform or just use the link that accompanies this post. The entire world is watching to see if diplomacy can somehow pull the region back from the brink. Thank you for joining us for this intelligence update. For more AI-powered news on demand, please visit stylonews.com.